Okay, this is the second video for section 4.5, day 1. And on this one, we're going to talk about when the quadratic equation is not equal to 0. Okay, so again, just a reminder on your steps, we want our form to look like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We always want to make sure everything's equal to 0, so ideally we'd like the right side to be 0, everything else on the left side. Then we got a factor that hasn't changed, and on this video we're going to have an a value that's not 1. Okay, so you're going to see examples of a values that are not 1. And then when we get done, we got to set both or all factors equal to 0 and solve for it. Again, you should have 2 answers on each of these problems. Okay, so let's take a look here at these examples. Let's start with number 3 in this case, and you'll notice on this one it's not equal to 0. We have x squared minus 7x, and it's equal to negative 12. So since the x squared is positive, I want to look at this guy over here and I got to move him. I want him out of there. I want it to be equal to 0. Well, in order for that to be equal to 0, I'm going to add 12 to each side. So I get x squared minus 7x, and since these guys aren't like terms, I'm just going to tack the plus 12 on at the end. And then negative 12 and positive 12 is now 0. Okay, so now that I have it equal to 0, I can go through and find my x. I got a is 1, b is negative 7, c is 12. So I need factors of 12 that add up to be negative 7, and that's negative 4 and negative 3. So I'm going to take this guy right here and replace him. Negative 4x, negative 3x. Carry down everything else. Going to group them. Take out an x here. Left with an x minus 4. Biggest number that goes into 3 and 12 is 3. Take out a negative 3, so I got an x there. Positive 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. So I have an x minus 4 in common. X minus 3 outside the parentheses equal to 0. And now I take each thing, x minus 4, set it equal to 0, and x minus 3, set it equal to 0. Now I solve them. I'm going to add 4 to each side, so x is going to equal positive 4. Add 3 to each side, and x is going to equal positive 3. So in this example, this was a case where it was not equal to 0. All right, let's take a look at one more example here. This one. Okay, so now in this case, you see a lot of stuff on that right side. Again, I want in order to factor it, it has to be equal to 0. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to subtract 2 from like terms from each side. Again, imagine there's a line going down that equal sign. Add 2x and add 2x. So now by doing that, 5x squared carries down. This becomes 32x. And 14 minus 2 is 12. And then that's going to equal, all this goes out and becomes 0. So now, this is a case of an example where a is not 1. So a is going to be 5, b is 32, c is 12. All right, so a times c, 5 times 12 is 60. So I need factors of 60 that add to 32. Well, that's 30 and positive 2. Those are my 2 factors. Okay. So now I'm going to replace the 32 with a 30x and a 32, or not a 32, a 2x. Bring down the 12, bring down the equals 0, bring down the 5x squared. Group the first 2 and the last 2. Biggest number that goes into 5 and 30 is 5, and they have an x in common. If I take that 5x out, I'm left with an x. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Biggest number that goes into 2 and 12 is 2. They don't both have x's, so I'm going to leave that guy in there. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. They have an x plus 6 in common and a 5x plus 2 left over. Okay, so now I'm going to take this example again. X plus 6 equal to 0. Solve it, so I would subtract 6. So x is going to equal negative 6. There's my first answer. Then I'm going to take 5x plus 2, set it equal to 0. And you'll notice on this one that with that number in front of x, it changes things, because what I'm going to have to do here is subtract 2. So 5x equals negative 2, and then I got to divide by 5. So in this case, my 5's cancel out, and x is going to equal negative 2/5. And yes, that is okay and very possible for you to get a fraction as a solution. Okay, but you'll notice I have two answers here. Again, one is negative 6, and one is negative 2/5. Okay, you should be able to complete the last set of problems here on Class Kick.